You're here, you showed up today because you want to find out how to become better. What does discipline do? What do those challenges do? They create and mold you into that kind of person who can take on any opportunity later on. So if that challenge shows up again, guess what? You're knocking out of the park because you went through it before, right? Hey, welcome to Pursue Your Passion, part number 2. Hope you've already watched part number 1. If you haven't, I'd highly suggest you find that on my channel. Go back and watch part 1 because the second half of this will play off of things that we talked about in part number 1. So if you watched part 1, then you know that I mentioned I'd be rolling out 2 more parts, meaning 3 total parts of PYP, but I made the decision that I'm just going to roll the rest of the event to you in this video right here, right now. So there are only going to be 2 parts to this Pursue Your Passion, and this is it. And as we get started with the second half of Pursue Your Passion, I do want to make sure that we're crystal clear on what we're jumping into, because there's about 60 seconds that got cut off that I want to make sure you're aware of so that you're on the same page with me as we move into the topic that you're about to start watching. And it's this. There's a study back in the 1960s done by an individual named Dr. Mehrabian. And essentially this study that I'm going to be sharing with you here in a few seconds is how individuals effectively communicate their feelings to another person. And Dr. Mehrabian cited that there are 3 major components: your words, your tonality, and your physiology. In this study, he is sharing with us specifically the weightings, or the importance, if you will, of each of those given components. So I talk a little bit more about it, about those 3 components, as we move into the start of the second half of Pursue Your Passion. So get a notebook, get a pen or pencil, start taking notes, and let's dive in. I really hope you enjoy this. So here we go. Boom, dude. You knew that already? Good. Okay. All right. Good. All right. If you want to, what's tonality?
Is it 34?
Close. 38. Now, for my mathematicians out there who are keeping score, physiology is 55%. Words, tonality, physiology. Now, I came up with this real clever thing because clearly, and we'll talk about all 3 here briefly, but words are important and we'll talk about them, but they're only 7% of communication of a feeling. So I thought to myself, these 2 are the most important. Tonality and physiology, not even the words you say. So I refer to these as the 93%. You like that? So maybe as we're trying to communicate more effectively, more powerfully with the other people in our life, yeah, words are important and we'll talk about them, but maybe what we really need to start focusing on more so is our tonality and our physiology, and we'll dive into all 3 of these. So let's talk about words real quick. We know they're important, right? It says 7%, but we know words are important because you can use words to make someone fall in love with you. And if you say the wrong words at the wrong time, you can get someone to punch you in the face. So we know words are important. When I say the word snow, what do you think of? Tell me. Snow. White. Winter. What? Cold. What else? Beautiful. Sledding. What do you think of when you think sledding? Fun. Woo! What else? Shovel driveway. What do you think when you think shovel driveway? I don't want to do it. Negative. So here's what's fascinating. When I was down in Central Indiana talking with the group, I said snow, and the young man said, hell. I say snow when you think fire. Isn't that fascinating? But how many different responses did we have here today to one word? Words, if you think about it, are actually illusions, aren't they? Words are illusions. They don't really mean anything. The only meaning words have are the meanings that you give to them when you hear them or when you speak them to another person. Sledding, fun. You hear snow, you're like, yeah, it's going to be a great day. You talk to my aunt, she's going to be like, get the heck out of here. Right? People have totally different concepts and meanings of what one single word can mean, because in our language, we only have so many distinctions that we make around certain words, don't we? Now, if you're part of the Inuit, which, if you know, are Eskimo, but the more appropriate term is Inuit, they have over 70 words to describe snow. 70 different words to describe snow. So they know if it's good packing snow. They know if it's good sledding snow. They know if it's yellow snow and you should stay away from it. 70 different words for snow. Now, there's also a culture in northern Scandinavia called the Sami. They have 1,000 words for reindeer. 1,000 different words for reindeer. You know if it's a strong, young reindeer that can pull things. You know if it's an older, fat reindeer that's just going to chill. You're going to know what kind of reindeer it is and the exact word that they use because they have 1,000 different distinctions for one kind of animal. Isn't that fascinating? We were in Pittsburgh a few weeks ago celebrating my grandma's birthday, and I told my grandfather, yeah, I'm really trying to understand language and linguistics and what it means and how I can use words more effectively, more powerfully. Oh, that's cool. He gives me all these kinds of books, and he sets this magazine down unintentionally. He was actually gave it to my mom because it had something about working out. He's like, oh, or nutrition, something like that. Oh, I thought you'd find this cool. So I look on the cover, and it says, whistling as a language. I was like, no kidding. Talk about your RAS and the universe opening up. So I flip open to the page, and it starts talking about how there's still cultures in the world that use whistling as their language. Now, they have words, but they'll call their neighbor for breakfast, invite their neighbor for breakfast just through a whistle. Like, you want eggs? Yeah, cheese, please. Like, they use whistling. I didn't look it up yet. That could be it, right? I'm not sure. They use whistling to use as their language. The only reason it has any meaning is because they've attached some kind of meaning to the different tonalities of the whistle. Isn't that interesting? So maybe if we start to think of words as what they really are, illusions, we can start to better understand people. And here's why. Because what do we do if we don't really understand someone's word, or we want to understand their perspective more effectively? Do we go back to asking more questions? What do you mean by snow? Words only have any meaning that you give to them. By the way, does anybody here know Russian? A little bit, Josiah? So if you're trying to learn Russian, what do? You find something you already know about. Maybe you see a picture of an apple, and you see a word in Russian, and all of a sudden you can attach it because you have a meaning for one thing, something you don't know. Words are illusions. They only have the meaning that we give them. Maybe that could help you out moving forward. Oh, the last thing I'll say about whistling as a language. Did you know there's a worldwide association of whistlers? Isn't that kind of crazy? I had no clue that was going on out there. Perfect. Let's touch on tonality real quick. We know tonality is important, don't we? We know tonality is important. This is purely for example purposes. Never happened to me, hypothetically speaking, to maybe help you understand this a little better. Have you ever been in a situation where you have a significant other or a friend or family member and they're really pissed? I mean, they're ticked at you. Visibly pissed at you. Again, this is hypothetical example purposes. And you're like, listen, I didn't say anything wrong. And they say to you, it's not what you said. It's
I said it.
How you said it.
Didn't they call it marriage?
We'll get to that, Steve. So we know tonality is important. What is tonality? Anyway. You know what it means. Give me an example. It's a word. What the? Wow, that's crazy, bro. What does it mean, really? Tonality is the way you use your voice, the volume, the pitch, the intensity, the passion, the speed. Are you going fast? Are you going slow? How many of you consciously, intentionally, consistently pay attention to how you say things? Truthfully. You do. Beautiful. You can say the same thing 3 different ways or more, couldn't you? I'm really excited to be at Pursue Your Passion. I'm really excited to be at Pursue Your Passion. I am really excited to be at Pursue Your Passion. Three totally different perspectives on life, isn't it? So we know tonality is important. Physiology. What's physiology? Seriously, what is physiology? Now, I'll make this distinction because when I was talking out in Colorado a couple days ago, I've talked about this several times with people, with groups, and no one's ever brought this up. But the ladies started telling me about different feelings, like sad, like I don't know, describing emotion. I said, no, good point. I was so confused for a second. I was like, good point. I don't mean internal physiology. I mean your external physiology. Body movement, body language, posture, how you move, the speed of your movement, your facial expressions, right? It's all physiology. Now, to make sure that we really understand physiology, is anybody like, oh shit, what's he about to do? I need 2 volunteers. Yes, Wade, please, come on up, Wade. Come on down. Who else? Who else wants to help us out? Please, step up. Yes, Tony, come on. I don't know if I should have these two up here at the same time. All right, Wade,
Yes.
you're A. Tony, you're B. Here's what I need you to do. Cool shoes, by the way, man. I like those.
I was pursuing my passion.
Yes, good.
Shoe store.
So here's what you're going to do. I know this might be difficult for you. But I'm going to give you an emotion, like through a word, and you're going to portray that emotion as you approach Tony. Like essentially you're going to be trying to go say hello to him, and you've got the emotion. No words, no tonality, only physiology.
Got it.
Okay? Now, what I need you to do is receive Wade as he walks at you, in whatever capacity he does. And the rest of you should observe what's going on here, as should you and how you feel. Okay, you ready? And this is going to be like a play. So you're going to see the word. I'm going to step over there, and I'm going to say, and action, and then you're going to do it, okay? Okay. Okay. And action. Give it up for Wade and Tony. Now, what emotion was that? Tell me.
I would say
Tell me. Anybody.
sadness.
Sad. Beautiful. Wow. Hire him right now on the spot. Next movie coming out. Tell me, how did you know it was sadness? Anybody?
Put his head down.
Head down.
Needed a hug.
Head in his hands. What else?
Yes.
What else? He was moving really fast, wasn't he?
No.
Moving very slowly. So don't we automatically know how someone's feeling just by the way that they move and act? Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Now I noticed as soon as he got closer, you wanted to give him a hug. Isn't that interesting? That was awesome. You're good, man. You're a good guy.
Thanks.
Glad I'm joining the fan. Beautiful. Thanks for being up here, guys. 2 more, please. I need 2 more. Yes, Zach, come on up. Who else? Yeah, Steve. Beautiful. All right. A, B.
Yep.
You guys got the gist of it?
Yeah.
I'll just give you this one. And action. What is he, Steve?
He's really, really happy.
What else? What else? Excited. You're hired too. Excited. Whoa, 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 whoa. What made you know he was excited or happy even?
He was skipping and jumping. His energy. He had a lot of energy.
He had a lot of energy.
Like, holy cow.
Was he frowning the whole time?
No.
Interesting. So you were moving fast. You had big movements.
Yes.
A lot different than the way Wade was moving, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I did this in a few weeks ago when I did this exercise. A lady had excited, and I said, no words, no tonality. You know the first thing she did? She squealed. I was like, no words, no tonality, come on. And then the second thing she did was, when she was done doing her excited movements, as she was sitting down, she goes, I feel so good. And she had walked around to the back, so I had already proceeded to the rest of the conversation. But I heard her say, I said, time out, what'd you say? She said, I don't know. I said, no, what did you just say? She said, I don't know. The lady next to her goes, she said, I feel good. I said, that's fascinating. Can you feel an emotion, sad or excited, and move in that way? Usually happens, doesn't it? Could you also move in a particular way and feel that emotion, yes or no? Yes. So what this lady found out, without anyone even saying it to her, was when she moved in an excited way, she felt better. She felt better. Now, could you use this in your daily life? Could you, before you approach an event or a person or conversation or a business meeting or your family, show up differently by deciding to move differently? Yes or no? Yes. Could you create better relationships, more effective, powerful communication by moving differently? Yes or no? Yes. Could that be pretty helpful? Yes or no? Yes. It's pretty cool, isn't it? All right. Now, what happens when someone's sad, moving sad, but they say things like, yes, it's going to be a great day? Call that incongruity. So if I would have asked you, Wade, to use words and tonality as you were moving this way and using sad body language, you probably would have been congruent and said things like, yeah, I'm not feeling the best today, in a tone and some words that also portrayed the way you were moving. So when you align all three, words, tonality, and physiology, you create congruency. What happens when you're congruent? People feel more confident about you and what you are going to do, don't they? Do you feel that way about other people? If they say, yes, I'm going to get this done, I promise I'm going to have it done by Tuesday, we're going to make it happen, it's done. Now, unless they have past experiences where they say that and they're incongruent with what they actually do. But in that given moment by itself, you probably have confidence that person's going to get that job done. But if they say, yep, definitely going to get that thing done by the due date, I'll show up on time, you have more or less confidence in that person. So maybe if we found a way to align all three more powerfully and made that an intentional thing, we could create better rapport and connect more effectively with more people, couldn't we? If we intentionally find a way to connect our words and our tonality and our physiology, maybe even using our physiology and tonality to drive our words and our behavior, we can put ourselves in an even better position to achieve and succeed. Now, this is not a public speaking seminar, but I'm going to ask you this. How many of you, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 to 10, in public speaking, in presenting to a group, large or small, where's your confidence on here? Write it down, 0 to 10. 10 being like, you're just going to knock out of the park, doesn't matter. You're going to show up and nail it. Totally confident. 0, the exact opposite of that. You got it? How many of you are 10? Say aye. Yes. How many of you are 9? Yes. Beautiful. 8s? Beautiful. 7s? Beautiful. 6? Beautiful. 5. Anybody 5 or lower? 5. Anybody 5? What'd you put? 5? Anybody lower than 5? Is anybody interested who said 6? I know there are a few of you. Anybody that's a 6 that's interested in bumping that up a little bit today? Yes, beautiful. Jeff, come on down.
I'm not afraid to get in front of people.
Right.
Don't like talking.
Right here. Please. Jeff, what'd you write down for your 4-minute mile?
For my what?
4-minute mile or a goal?
Oh, I'd have to go look at my paper, but probably something about growing the business this year.
Cool. So let's do this. let's have you, in 30 seconds, persuade this group to help us clean up all these chairs afterwards.
Oh.
It's going to take a few hours. Like, it's going to be hard work, but I need you to convince everyone here to help us clean up the chairs, the place, get it all organized, and it's going to be tough, but I need you to convince them to do that. Okay? 30 seconds, ready, go.
This seems like a horrible idea, actually. But, yeah, this is like totally clueless for me. Other than if we all work as a team, it'll be done really quickly. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay.
Why did that throw me on the spot like this?
You raise your hand. No. Stay up here. On a scale of 0 to 10, where do you feel?
Definite 0.
0.
Oh, yeah, that was
Purely 0.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
terrible.
Audience, I'm afraid to ask. Audience, where's he at, 0 to 10? For you? 4, 2, 5.
This is why I prep for things, JJ. You didn't just get up here
5.
and make all this up this morning, did you?
5. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure you're congruent. Try and get Jeff congruent. Here we go. Please stand right here. Take your hands out of your pocket. You're going to close your eyes. We're going to do a quick visualization like we did when we rotated. Okay? You're going to feel what I'm talking about. And you're going to practice congruity. So we're going to do the same thing again here in a moment. But first, you're going to feel the energy build up in you starting your feet. Because you know, as well as everyone else in this group, since we already talked about it, that energy drives confidence. Energy drives congruity. Energy drives the ability to persuade and influence people. So you're going to feel the energy build up starting your feet. You feel that building up, starting your feet, going through your legs? You feel that?
Yeah.
You feel the energy building up in you as it moves up your legs, through your core, through your entire body. You're feeling more energized. And here's what you're going to think about. You're going to realize that the 93% is the most important thing. Your words don't even matter. You've got the words inside of you, and you absolutely know that you've got the words inside of you. But what you need to focus on is using that energy to deliver congruently with your words, using your physiology and your tonality. So when you approach this group again, you're going to have total confidence because you're going to have total congruity and total energy around your physiology and your tonality. And you're going to use that to persuade this group to help us pick up these chairs. Even though it's going to be tough, you know it can be done because you have the energy, the congruity, and the intensity to make it happen. You can feel that still?
Yeah.
Feeling more confidence? Go ahead. Take the floor, 30 seconds. Use your tonality and persuade this group.
Okay, hey, thanks everyone for coming out today. Is everyone feeling good? Yeah! If you can all help me out here, we can get this done really quick. Grab your chair and we're going to put it away on the way out. Everyone with me? Yeah!
Oh my gosh! Okay. Where do you feel you were?
7 or an 8.
7 or 8?
Yeah. 9, okay.
9?
I'm definitely picking my chair up.
Now you see why I do this exercise.
Can I sit down?
No. What specifically did you do differently the second
I thought
time?
about what I was going to say.
How did you?
Visualized it.
What were you convinced by? How did you feel and sense his energy? What did he do? Was he open? Was he moving? What was the speed of his language? Faster. A lot faster. Very genuine. He smiled. I guess you're coming to the next seminar.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does this go back to our visualization? What if you used this for yourself before you showed up to an event? A meeting, a conversation with a friend or family member. What if you decided energy is what breeds confidence in me, and if I focus on my tonality, my physiology, it will come through in my words because I've got them. You've got the information. You're like Google, honestly. You might not have it all at the top of your head, but it's in there. The words will come out if you focus on the energy and the tonality. You feel good?
Yeah, you just...
Say yes!
Yes!
Thanks, Jeff. Give it up for Jeff. Here's what we need to do real quick. Can all of you see me if I'm standing by this table right here? You've got your pen or your marker. Put it in front of you, on your lap, or on the chair next to you, in a place where you can easily reach it. Follow along with what I do. Set it back down. Wow, you're all so good. Okay, now go ahead and set it down and just watch. Don't need to follow, just watch. Did you get that? Did you catch that? You did. For those of you who missed it, here, let's do it one more time. Boom. What just happened? You went off the deep end, bro. How many of you are familiar with mirror neurons? A little bit. Awesome. Few of you. So mirror neurons, here's what happened. Back in the 1970s, 80s, they were studying how neurons work in the brain. So to do this, they tested the neuron function and firing in macaque monkeys over in Italy. Now, I'm not a proponent for doing studies on animals and monkeys like that, but the study was done. I want to share with you what was found so it could hopefully help you along the way. What they found was, as they were studying these neurons, they happened to come across a situation where neurons were firing even when the monkey wasn't doing anything. What they found was the monkey's neurons fired when they picked up and ate a peanut. Same as when they sat there and observed an experimenter reach and pick up and eat a peanut. The same exact neurons fired. Not as intensely, but they still fired. So what we have found out is that our neurons will fire whether we do something or not if we see somebody else doing it, or if we, that's why our thoughts become our destiny, part of the reason, because we actually feel it because it's fired off in our brain. The same neurons as if we do a simple, specific action as if we watch and observe someone else, which is why it's partly a theory on how we learn, right? As babies, as infants, as we're growing up, because we see people do things and that's how we know how to move, how to act, how to interact. Mirror neurons. They're pretty fascinating because you can use them to connect with people. It's pretty neat. That's how we connect with people, because if we start to feel more comfortable with someone because they're moving in a way that makes us feel comfortable, then we'll feel more comfortable. Even if we're not moving in that way, we'll feel more comfortable because it's firing in our brain anyways. So it's really the tool of empathy for people. The tool of empathy. That's how we connect with other human beings. And something we also want to do if we're trying to connect more powerfully, more effectively with other people is build what we call rapport, right? You're familiar with rapport? A feeling of connection or empathy with other individuals. So, how can we use this to our advantage? Oh, that's fascinating that I just did that because I wanted to mention that. How many of you have been out to eat or coffee or sitting in an office before in your life ever? Anybody? And you're sitting there and you're having a good conversation and you've just drank some water. You're not really thirsty, but the other person picks up their water and they start to drink, and automatically, instantaneously, you reach for your water and take a swig. You're like, I wasn't even thirsty. Why did I do that? That's because you were in rapport with the other person and your mirror neurons fired off enough that it made you reach out. Funny little story because I love this kind of stuff. I nerd out on it. I'm trying to observe in this interaction at a business meeting several months ago. We were at a pizza place. Don't worry, Lauren, I didn't have any. Okay, one piece. We were at this business meeting. There were 4 gentlemen and myself. I like to think also a gentleman, but I was just pointing out that there were 5 of us. And they all ordered a bottle of Coca-Cola, either a bottle of Coke or Diet Coke, but it was in the same bottle. All 4 of them. Talk about congruity. I didn't. I stuck with water. I swear. Stuck with water. But I was kind of off. So the 4 were like there, and I was at the end of the table, so I was able to just see everybody and observe. This conversation was going really well. Like, people were laughing, having a good time. And at one point, the gentleman that we were there trying to speak with as a prospective client said something, and everyone started cracking up. And I kept my wits about me, and I observed from a distance. Everyone started cracking up, and instantaneously, as he reached for his Coca-Cola, the other 3 individuals also instantaneously also reached for their bottle of Coca-Cola. I said, it's pretty interesting, isn't it? They had so much rapport in that conversation. And that happens frequently when you're laughing with someone, doesn't it? Don't you find that you move and you start laughing with someone, all of a sudden you both do the same weird kind of like, yeah, something. That's not what I do. I was just as an example, Steve. Excited. So here's what we can do. We can do something called matching and mirroring to build rapport. Who's familiar with matching and mirroring? A few of you. So what you can do when you're matching and mirroring is to do something like someone else does. Like if Matt's crossing his arm like this and tapping his nose. Or I can sit with Mike and cross my leg and have my hands here. Or I can do one of these with Steve as we lean in and have a conversation. Can you connect with other people even if they're not in your immediate viewpoint? So like if we're talking and I cross my leg like Jeff, this is one way that we can start to build rapport. A feeling of connection with other people. Now, I was down in Texas. Thank you, Steve, for hiring me to go down there. That was a blast last year. And one lady in the back said, I would not let you manipulate me like that. I said, whoa, time out. I said, listen, didn't we talk about this idea of human connection and people are our most important resource? And if people are our most important resource, we need to figure out how to connect more effectively, more powerfully with the people in our lives. Yes. So if that's true, don't we want to use any tools and resources we have available to us to connect more effectively, more powerfully with the people in our lives? Yes. Now, can any tool be used for bad? Yes, absolutely. But could this idea of intentionally finding a way to build rapport and connect with someone help you in several different scenarios, at home, at work? Yes or no? Yes. It could. Now, is it just, by the way, mirroring is when you do the exact same thing as another person. Literally mirror exactly what they do, like Jeff. Matching is where you do something similar. So if they're like leaning back, crossing their arms like this, maybe you just cross one. Just approximating what they're doing. Now, I'm not telling you to just watch them the whole time, like, yeah, okay, that's cool. And they move, like, they cross their legs, you cross yours. They cross their arms, you cross theirs. They pick your nose, you. Don't match everything, but could you use it as a simple tool to start building rapport with people? And by the way, can you use more than just your physiology in matching and mirroring? Could you also match someone's tonality? If they're a slower speaker, would they find it respectful to start if you spoke more slowly, more calmly? Because then they'll know you're intelligent like they are. Could you also match their words? In the real estate business, as an example, if someone came to you and said, I'm looking for the most magnificent home that I could ever find, it's got to be big, it has to be magnificent, and you said, I've got this extraordinary, huge home to show you. Could that work? Maybe it's close enough, but maybe you should use their words, because aren't words illusions? Maybe huge means like something totally different to that person than to you, and they're like, that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I said. Did you not hear what I said? Now, I'm not just saying parrot pack everything everybody says. How are you doing today? How are you doing today? Good, you? Good, you? But could you use these other opportunities to step into someone's world and connect more powerfully, more effectively, so you can create mutually beneficial outcomes, not just for yourself, but for that person too, for that group, for your team, for your business, for your family? Absolutely, it's a tool we can use to help everybody involved. Perfect. Please stand up one more time for me. Shake it out. Is everybody feeling awake, yes or no? Yes. Good. I'm glad to hear it. I love the energy. So, another quick story I want to tell you. How many of you are familiar with a guy by the name of Christopher Columbus? Yes. 1492, sailed the ocean blue, that guy. Has anybody read his journals? Not that I haven't read his journals, that'd be like really nerdy, but has anybody? So what you find if you happen to read his journals is something pretty fascinating. So as they're sailing west, now they weren't the only voyagers to ever sail west, right? There had been people that had traveled that portion of the sea before, and they'd created maps. So they were using these maps to guide themselves to figure out where they needed to go. You remember this story? So as they're traveling west, and what you'll find in his journal is, as we looked north, we saw land that we didn't expect to see for another day or two. And they continue to travel, and he'll say, well, we looked south, and we're not seeing land yet, but we expect it to based on the map that we're using. Go ahead and take a seat. That's it. So what did he find out? Mr. Christopher Columbus find out. See you, brother. Have a great time. Yeah. Congratulations, Dan. What do we find out? We find out that, you might want to write this down, the map is not the territory. The territory. What does that mean? That means the reality of the experience that Columbus and his crew experienced was different than the map that they were given. The map is not the territory. What does that mean for us as individuals? Isn't it true that everyone has their own map of the world? Everyone has their own map of the world. Now, by the way, we talked about a little bit earlier with beliefs, how are maps created? Our maps of the world are created from the time we're born and the things we experience and hear and see and watch, and as we grow up, what we think is right versus wrong. That's our map of the world. Now, we have all different kinds of maps. We have maps at work. We have maps with relationships, with family, with kids. We have all different kinds of maps that we work off of in our world. But everyone has a different map. And I think what this frees you up to do is to have less stress and anxiety and frustration in your communication. Because what happens when someone says something to you and really pisses you off? Because they say they believe something that you don't. And you can say, "You're an idiot!"
No, I'm going to say interesting.
You're going to say interesting. Quick. Yes, I love that. Quick curiosity trigger. So what can we start to realize when we believe, when we understand this fact that everyone has a different map of the world? They're going to have a totally different experience. That's why people vote for different people. That's why people go and have different jobs or have different careers or have families or don't have families. And isn't it true that you can go in all different kinds of the world and experience things that are totally mind-blowing? You're like, that would never happen in Northwest Indiana. Let me give you a quick example. There are different time cultures, different time orientation that different cultures might have. As an example, there's monochronic and polychronic. So in monochronic, which is most folks in the United States, as a culture generally we're monochronic, which is one thing happens at a time. I'm at a seminar from 9 to 11. I have a meeting from 11:30 to 12:30. I'm having lunch immediately after that, and so on and so on, monochronic. Are there cultures in the world that are polychronic, which means multiple things can happen in the same given time? As an example, you might have 4 individuals who plan on going to golf at 8 a.m. on a Saturday, and 3 of them are there, they're ready to tee off, and their friend shows up 45 minutes late, and he's like, "Hey, guys, hey, you ready to golf? Let's go, let's have a good time." And they're like, "Dude, you're literally 45 minutes late," and they're frustrated with him. Thinks nothing of it, doesn't say sorry, means nothing to him. That's what you will find in a polychronic culture, because people believe that relationships are extremely important, so if they're in a great conversation, they won't leave it until that conversation's over. So if there are, I like that, by the way, that's good. So if there are individuals who have these kinds of differences in their time orientation, is it possible that there are other individuals with totally different orientations and cultures in other areas of their life too? They have a totally different map of the world. And as soon as we can start to understand this and believe it and utilize it in a given interaction, then we can know that we're going to have a better conversation, because we can trigger curiosity, ask questions, and better understand their map. Now, I said this to the company out in Colorado a few days ago, and I have to clarify. You can't show up late to work on Monday and say, "Well, guess what? JJ said I'm polychronic." That's not going to work. Don't blame it on me. But listen, how do we then better understand people's map of the world? Kind of alluded to it already. Ask questions. Ask questions. How many questions? Boom! That's right, Mike. Thank you, sir. I had a beautiful opportunity. As I said, I love connecting with people who I think are very successful and just picking their brain and figuring out everything I can from them. Unfortunately, he's passed away at this time, but I had an awesome opportunity to connect with a guy by the name of Bob Allen. Bob Allen was also an alum of my same college, so that's how I was able to connect with him. and he was president and CEO of AT&T Corporation for about a decade. And I thought to myself, Bob, man, you've been super successful. And I thought, I got to reach out to this guy. So I asked him, I said, Bob, send him an email, replied. We had a phone conversation about 2 hours. One point I said, Bob, listen, you climbed the corporate ladder. Like, as far as business goes, and he's, again, a great community member, great family guy. But as far as business goes, you've knocked it out of the park. You've literally been president and CEO of one of the largest companies in the U.S. How did you do that? And he said, I rarely made decisions. I rarely made decisions. I'm thinking he's going to say, I ruled with an iron fist. I stepped up. I told everybody what to do, and they got it done on time, and that was it. I rarely made decisions. So what did you do? You rarely made decisions. What does that even mean? He said, if somebody that reported me came to me with a challenge or issue or problem, I knew they had the answer. They would not be in that role if they didn't have the answer. So I asked them questions until they found out the answer. Because what happens when you come up with the answer? Are you much more likely to actually take action on it and give it everything you have, as opposed to if someone says, you need to go do this, which are you more likely to take action on? It's your idea, right? We can discover a lot about people when we start to ask questions. The next time I have this seminar, I'm just going to call it Let's Ask Questions. That was a joke, please, come on. No? You didn't like it? So what do we do once we ask those questions? You alluded to it earlier, Steve. Listen. Boom. We have to listen, but not only listening for their words, but their tonality, right? We have to observe their tonality and their physiology, make sure they're congruent. Because if somebody's not congruent, there's something going on, isn't there? Consciously or subconsciously, they may have little confidence that they're actually going to get it done, or there's something else going on in their life that we don't yet know about. But if you can... All right, so as we move into the next portion of this video, I just want to share with you something that will help you make sure you're on the same page with me as I start talking about this next section, because we miss about 30 to 60 seconds of the video in transition. So I just want to share with you, this next part is where I'm going to share with you how can you change your worldview, the beliefs that you have, to empower you to live a more fulfilling life. And what I'm talking about, what I mean by that is, we all have these beliefs that can either empower us or limit us. And sometimes we end up having values that come into conflict with one another. So I just want to share with you in this next section, how can we start to rearrange our beliefs so that we can get more of the values that we appreciate more often. I think you'll see what I mean more clearly as you continue watching. So let's dive into it right now. Keep going. Enjoy. So why we're using this example. So maybe you say, you have a couple beliefs. One is, if I eat well, and if I don't eat bad, I will have energy and vitality. And this, why, is a value that I highly value. I want that in my life, energy and vitality. So, what do? I follow my belief systems, and I eat well, and I don't eat bad. But then the holidays come around. And I associate eating crap, like cookies and cake and candy or whatever comes around, with having fun and quality time with my family. Does anybody have that association right now in their lives? Same. But these two totally contradict each other, don't they? Because if I eat crap, then I'm not going to get this value that I have of energy and vitality. Isn't that the case? So, two things happen here. This is another value. I value quality time and fun with my family. I also value energy and vitality. So here's the question that pops up in your mind instantaneously, automatically, without you thinking about it, when the cake comes out, when the cookies come out. Which of these two values is higher on my Priority list. Do I more so value energy and vitality, or do I more so value fun and quality time with my family? Now, for most of us, it's not a conscious, intentional decision. It just happens, right? We prioritize these because it's been ingrained in us already. Our brain already has a decision as to which we value more. Has anybody experienced this? A couple people? So here's what we have to do to rectify. A couple options. And you can think about this in any area of your life. Any belief system you have, any values you're trying to produce. After you leave today, you can go and think, how does this align with some other beliefs that I have? Where do I have conflicts with my values and my beliefs? So not only do we need to understand other people's maps of the world, we need to understand our own map of the world. Not only do we need to understand our own map of the world, but how can we create a more effective, powerful map? Because by the way, when I say somebody has a different map of the world than you, are they wrong when they think something totally opposite you? They're wrong based on your map of the world. They're absolutely right based on their map of the world. Isn't that true? They're absolutely... Now, I'm not saying they have the most effective, productive, powerful map in the world. It's not a judgment on that. It's just they're absolutely right from their map of the world. Now, are there ways that we can create a more powerful, productive map of the world? Can we reconstruct consciously and intentionally our own maps? Yes or no? Yes or no? Some you're kind of hesitant, not totally sure, huh? Yes. Not totally sure, huh? So number one, we can decide. Number one, we automatically will decide which one do we value more. And that's what you'll do. Or you can change up your map of the world.
You can change the recipes.
You're absolutely right. Get some healthier crap.
Gluten-free flour.
That's right. Lauren, hook us up. Couldn't you also decide, I'm not saying it's easy, but could you condition yourself to say, I have a new belief. When I eat well and I don't eat bad, and I call this an extended belief system, I have energy and vitality. And when I have energy and vitality, I have fun and quality time with my family. I'm not suggesting you have to do this. Some of you are probably like, dude, I'm not giving up the cookies, bro. What I am suggesting is this something you can do to switch up other maps in your life that aren't as productive as you want them to be. If you say, gosh, I have fun for about the first 10 minutes and then I'm totally exhausted and I just want to crash. Maybe this would be a helpful way to look at your beliefs and reconstruct what you have in place right now today. Could this be helpful, yes or no? Yes. Oh, good, okay. Last thing I want to talk about, maps. How many of you are familiar with input and output channels? Let me ask this. How do we take in information? How do we take in information as human beings? Our five senses, right? What are they? Taste, touch, hear, smell, see. So there are three primary ones in communication, right? Visual, you see things. Auditory, you hear things. Kinesthetic, you feel things. Now these can all be external or internal, right? You can see things, see the people in the audience. You can see the weird guy up front. You can hear me speaking, or you can hear yourself saying, is this almost over? You can have this feeling of excitement, or I could give you a pat on the shoulder, somebody could, and you can feel that. So all of these, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, can be internal and external. Did you feel that? I did. You felt it internally too, didn't you? You felt it externally, and then you felt, that was great, really nice. So we have these three input and output channels. Now, do these factor into our maps of the world, yes or no? Absolutely. Do you use all three of these, yes or no? Absolutely. Do you use some of these more than others, yes or no? Are some of us more orientated? Yeah. More likely to use visual versus auditory versus kinesthetic. Can you understand someone's map of the world and if they're visual, auditory, or primarily kinesthetic based on their words, yes or no? I see what you're doing there. That's interesting. That picture's pretty muddy. Could you clear it up for me? I feel you, bro. I hear what you're saying. Do we hear people saying all these different kinds of descriptions and have a better understanding for which of these are? Now, can you have conflict when you don't understand that other people have different primary input and output channels? Yes or no? Let me give you an example. Husband comes home from work. He gets on the couch, scatters the newspaper, kicks his shoes off, throws the blanket and the pillow, and just kind of kicks it there. And he's chilling. And the wife comes in and says, "You idiot. I just spent all this time cleaning so you could see that I respected you when you viewed the clean house." Which is she, primarily? Visual. When you can see a clean house. Which is he? I feel comfortable when I come home and can relax on the big, comfy couch. Kinesthetic, absolutely. So probably going to be a little fight that night. Now, I'm not suggesting it's easy, but what I am suggesting is if we can better understand or realize that other people operate in different modes, primarily, can we have better relationships and better connections? Can we better understand where people are coming from? Has anybody experienced something similar to this? Not you, but maybe you've seen it in other people's lives. Well, we're getting to that, Steve. All right, second to last time. We're about to finish up here with teamwork, so go ahead and stand up and shake it out because I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Shake it out, feel good. Give a person on the left and right a high five. Yeah, okay. How many of you remember the book? How many of you have seen the movie, actually? The Jungle Book. Yeah? Say aye. Any of them. Now, Matt, do you remember the law of the jungle oath? Word for word. Does anybody here remember the law of the jungle oath? Neither do I, don't worry. But there's one part that I must share with you from the law of the jungle. And maybe you'll recognize this as we say it. The law of the jungle ends like this. The strength of the pack is the wolf. The strength of the wolf is the pack. The strength of the pack is the wolf. The strength of the wolf is the pack. Check it out. Take a seat. We'll continue with that. Mogul. That's exactly right. Are you valuable in your job, in your family, in your friendships? Yes or no? Yes. You wouldn't be in those scenarios if you weren't. If you didn't bring some kind of value to the people in your life, to your organization, you would not be in that team. Does your team create value for you just by being a part of it, your family? In some way, shape, or form, you are getting some kind of value from being a part of that team. Now, the awesome thing about this is you're spending time with other people who want to improve and learn and grow and feel motivated to take themselves, to take action and do the next thing and improve their lives and experience more. Have you heard the saying, you become who you spend time with? Do you believe that, yes or no?
Yes.
So what I might offer to you very briefly is make sure you've got the right teammates. Make sure you're spending time with the right people. Because our teams are extremely important to us, not only because we bring value to them, but because that's where we get our value and our habits and the things that we experience and learn from those teams. So I just want to share a few things with you as we wrap up over the next several minutes about teamwork and how you can have more effective team experiences, personally and professionally. One quick thing. How many of you expect a lot of the people in your lives? How many of you let's ask it this way, how many of you set expectations for the people in your lives?
It's not fair, but
We all do, don't we? How many of you set expectations for yourself? What happens when a friend, family member, coworker, teammate, or you don't quite meet expectations? Tension. You feel good or bad? Disappointment, frustrated, stressed. Some negative feelings, right? Is it important to have expectations, yes or no? Yes. Absolutely. It's important to have expectations because you need to know what other people expect of you, what you expect of yourself, because that's essentially what we do when we set goals, isn't it? We're setting expectations for what we want to do, where we want to go. But the challenge here, obviously, is if we don't meet those expectations or not quite to the level of what the people in our lives wanted, there's a challenge. Therein lies our issue. What if you created a belief that allowed you to miss expectations, or at least if you do miss expectations, you don't have frustrations and challenges? Would that be helpful, yes or no?
Yes.
Just one thought. You might want to write this down because I think it's very powerful and it's been huge for me in my life since I've learned it. Trade your expectations for appreciation. Trade your expectations for appreciation. When someone messes up and they don't meet your expectations, what would happen, whether it's a child, a significant other, a teammate, what would happen instead of getting frustrated and upset and angry and having a negative kind of interaction, what if you appreciated that family member or friend or coworker? Would you say, you know what? We recognize that you didn't meet expectations. We were on the same page about that and it didn't happen. But I appreciate you because you always show up. You always give everything you got. I know what you were trying to do and I appreciate you for making that effort. Or maybe it's not even related to the scenario. Maybe you appreciate and you're grateful for something else that they've done in the past and you recognize that and you bring that up to them. Could that totally change your interaction with the people in your lives? Yes or no? Yes. Could, couldn't it? Trade your expectation for appreciation. Next thing, I think we really need to understand not just the goals of ourselves, but the goals of the people on our teams. How many of you ask the people in your life on a regular basis who are on your team, at work, at home, your friends, social, what their goals are? Beautiful. I think if we can better understand people's goals, their 4-minute mile, the thing they want to go after, and we can be a person that can support them and help them and give them what they need, then we can connect better with those people, can't we? Because we know where they want to go. We know what they're motivated by. And even if what they're doing today, what they're working on today, has nothing to do with their mission, you can recognize that and you can appreciate that they've got a different goal, especially if they're still working their butt off to help you or the team or the organization in whatever way they can. So when we can start to understand other people's goals, I'd offer to you that can totally transform a relationship because people will feel energized that you care so much about what they want, need, desire, and deserve in their life. So maybe start asking the people in your life what their goals are, what their 4-minute mile is. Tell them the story about Roger. Like, you ever heard the story about Roger Bannister? Go back to the year 15. Tell them the whole thing. Ask them what their 4-minute mile is. See what that does to your relationship. Understand the goals of the team. Understand what your family's outcome is. What is your company's outcome? What is the outcome of the group that you're with? Let's be safe getting home tonight. Maybe that's as simple as that. Maybe we should start to understand other people's goals and figure out how we can help them. Because maybe you've heard the very cliche saying, it's probably a Jim Rohn saying. No, it's Zig, isn't it? Zig Ziglar. As you help more people accomplish their goals, you will be in a better position to accomplish yours. How many of you are familiar with the eyeglass company, Warby Parker? Warby Parker? Yeah, a few people, perfect. So Warby Parker was started by 4 friends, 4 individuals at Wharton School of Business. They were in the MBA program together, and they came up with this business idea while they were at a pub, right? The best place to start getting creative. And at this time, they decided to start a company where they are selling sunglasses and regular glasses online. And they started the company as 4 friends, and they said, listen, because of our experience and the case studies we've done and the businesses we've followed, we understand that there are a ton of companies out there that start with friends and end with great businesses without friendships. They said our number one priority in this, yes, we want to build a great business, but we must remain friends. So in order for us to take action and help that to happen, we're going to meet back here once a month, every month, to just be friends and hang out. And if there's anything on our minds, we got to put it out there. We got to let people know what we're feeling. So I was listening to a podcast of someone interviewing Neil Blumenthal, who's one of the 4 friends or co-founders of Warby Parker. And he said at one point in time, very early on, he was receiving an email from one of his other business partners at 2 and 3 in the morning, 2, 3, 5 pages long, consistently, on his line of work, his portion of the business. And Neil said to this friend that time that they went out to the pub, he said, listen, dude, I'm really frustrated with you because you're spending a ton of time in my area of work. It's really pissing me off, dude. You got to stop it. And the friend said, time out. Hold on. I don't think you understand what I'm doing here. I really apologize that you took that in the wrong way, or what I see as the wrong way, because what you have to understand, Neil, is my intent was that I'm just so freaking excited about what you're doing on your line of work in the business that I had to share with you my ideas. I think what you're doing is great. I'm so excited about it. I think it's going to take off and it's going to make this company even more extraordinary. That was my only intent. I said, interesting. So from that time on, they have a new rule in their culture of their business that holds today, which is always assume positive intent. Always assume positive intent. What happens when you assume positive intent? Do you have better interactions with people? By the way, I was writing this out for a group recently, 7:38 and 55. And as soon as we finished, lady raised her hand. Question? She said, no, I've got a comment. I wrote down the 55. She said, this is exactly why text messaging and emails go so wrong so frequently. You're getting 7% of the communication. Now, can you use emojis and capital letters and exclamations to get some of that? Yes. All of it? Probably not. So when someone sends you a text or an email or says words to you in a way that frustrate you, could you assume positive intent? Totally change that conversation. Because now what happens? You don't get angry, you get curious. You start to learn more, you ask more questions, you dig deeper. You have more productive and powerful interaction, don't you? Now, what if somebody does have negative intent? What is like, I'm going to get this son of a gun with this text or this email or this comment that I'm going to make? What then happens when you assume positive intent? Diffuse it. I'm going to get this person. Yeah, you're such an idiot for doing so bad on that project. Interesting. Oh, man. It went wrong? Well, how can we figure that out? Tell me more. Really? Interesting. Like you just taught him interesting without even meaning to. It diffuses the situation. Now can you have a more productive interaction because you assumed positive intent? One of the last things I want to wrap up with here. What we have to realize every day as we're interacting with people, especially family and friends and coworkers, the people we spend most of our time with, is that we are always, literally always, never ending, training and conditioning the people in our lives. You can hope that that's not the truth, but I'm telling you what, you're doing it. We're all doing it. What happens when you show up unexcited or lacking energy home? Coming home to your friend or family member? Are you conditioning them that you don't have energy for them? That they mean less to you? That's not your intent. But the reason we have this saying that we need to always assume positive intent is because mostly people assume negative intent, don't they? So how are you showing up in the lives of your friends and family members? Or when you see a friend, you're like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Or are you doing the sad thing? Like, yeah, what's up? How you doing? How are you conditioning and training the people in your life? Now, I'm not insinuating we're dogs. What I am insinuating is that they do plenty of studies with puppies and puppy training. And this idea of positive reinforcement. They found that positive reinforcement, and maybe you'll agree with this and you probably already recognize this, positive reinforcement is one of the best ways that we can train puppies. What does that mean? They get to the door, they're ready to go out, give them a treat, good job. Go outside, good job. Come back in, good job. Could it be a treat? Could it be a pat on the butt? Or the head, whichever hand you prefer. We do the same thing to the people in our lives, don't we? But I'm not saying you pat them on the butt or the head. But by the way we react to the things people say, to the things people do, are we conditioning them in our lives, yes or no? We are, absolutely. So should we absolutely become even more intentional with the way we interact with people? One of the guys down in Muncie, an individual broker, he said, speaking of that, my wife backed into our garage a few months ago. She was pulling out and she hit the side and scraped it up. I said, honey, it's okay. We'll take care of this. It happens. He said, a few weeks later, she did it again. I said, honey, it's okay. We'll take care of this. It'll be fine. He said, a couple months later, she did it again. He said, what are you doing? Now, I'm not saying yelling at people is what we need to do, but I think as we're training and conditioning people in our lives, what we have to continue to remember is, what should we try to make sure we're being as influential positively as possible, as encouraging as possible, reinforcing with positivity as often as possible. Try anything. Find out if it works. Encourage someone in a specific way. Reward them in a certain way. And if that doesn't work, try something else. If that doesn't work, try something else. If that doesn't work, try anything else. I think the point is we don't really know how people respond, and we're never going to figure it out until we experiment and try and practice and figure it out. And I think it's kind of a never-ending thing, isn't it? Because people change, we all change, our maps of the world change. And that's a good thing. But I think we also need to be conscientious that we are always training the people in our lives. So let's be more intentional with that. Now, I wanted to touch on discipline because all of today has been pretty positive, right? Yeah, it's been pretty positive. I want to touch on discipline very quickly because I think it's important, because I think there are tough times. Has anybody ever had a tough time or challenge in your life? Maybe once. Again, I'm an amateur of the Bible, but I really think this speaks well and helps me to better understand this idea of discipline. At some point it says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Later on, however, it produces righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. So what I'm hearing in this is that discipline's a good thing, isn't it? Now, I'm not speaking of times of tragic accidents or, negative things that happen where someone passes away at a really young age or something terrible, someone comes down with a terrible disease. But what I'm saying is the tough times, the challenges are there for a reason. You're here, you showed up today because you want to find out how to become better. What does discipline do? What do those challenges do? They create and mold you into that kind of person who can take on any opportunity later on. So if that challenge shows up again, guess what? You're knocking out of the park because you went through it before, right? So what if instead of getting frustrated by challenges and things that seem tough and discipline in our life, what if we decided this is good? Keep it coming, baby. I'm getting better and better every single time that I go through this. Laura and I were recently doing shopping at Bed Bath & Beyond because we got to get, registering for this event that's coming up later on this year. And we're talking with a gentleman, and he's talking about different plates with us and the quality of different plates. And I'm like, I don't care. Can I put food on it? But he knows everything about plates. And I said, what's the difference between this plate and that one? He said, oh, this one's much stronger, much sturdier. It's not going to get ruined as easily. It'll last you a lot longer. It's a lot tougher, higher quality. I said, how do you get something that high quality? He said, oh, we put it in the flames, in the fire, twice as long, 2 different times, more so than the other plates. I said, isn't that a fascinating metaphor for life? If we go through the ringer, through the challenges and the disciplines of life, can we come out stronger, tougher, and have higher quality opportunities later on? To be that kind of person that can leverage the opportunities. To be that person that says, I can step up, I've been through this before, I got our family, I got our company, I got our team, I got you as a client or customer. Let's make it happen. We were flying back from Denver. And I've been on planes a lot. I'm not that scared of them. But this flight back was bumpy. I mean, it was turbulent. It was bad. And the only thing that kept going through my mind was, my goodness, I hope this pilot's been through some bad turbulence before. I hope he's been through the challenges and the disciplines before. Do you think your family says that about you? Do you think your kids say that about you? Do you think your friends and your coworkers and the people that are managing you or that you're managing have said this about you? Man, I hope he or she has been through this before, knows how to handle it, knows how to step up and get the job done. I bet they are. I bet they are. And even if they're not saying it out loud, I bet they say it subconsciously, unconsciously to themselves because they want to know someone can step up and be a leader in their lives. Embrace the challenges, smile through the challenges, and I think what you'll find is live an even more extraordinary life. And if you use these ideas and strategies and the quick curiosity triggers and the things we've talked about, I hope you'll take that into the rest of your day and the rest of your life and make it even more exciting, more thrilling, so it's more fun. Not just more fun, but more free. I think at the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for. It's freedom. To do what I want, when I want, with whom I want, and serve other people and contribute in the way that I want. I think that's fun. I think that's exciting. So before we wrap up here today, I just want to say thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure and privilege and honor to spend this time with you because I know time's something we don't get back ever. You just spent just over 2 hours with us, and it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed it. And the last thing I want to say is stay in touch with me. You know it's not the last thing. I keep saying that. Last time we're standing up. No, 4 more times later. Stay in touch. I think all of you know me. But stay in touch. I would love to help and serve you however I can. We'll have more events in the future. If there's anything I can do, just reach out. You've got an email. You've got my email if you grab my card. And I just want to serve and continue to serve. It's my mission to just increase the quality of life for as many people as I can possibly reach. So if you have any ways to help me to do that, that's my goal. So help me out. Go ahead and stand up. Your mind, think back, visualize back, feel something that you felt earlier today. Because what do we say? Knowledge and information is not enough. Knowledge and information is not enough. We must execute. We have to do something. Complexity is the enemy of execution, so we have to find something simple, little that we can execute on today, immediately, as soon as you leave here, maybe before you leave here. So think about one thing that you can do, one thing that you can execute on. Have that in your mind. Hopefully you've taken notes and you'll do more than one thing over the duration, but at least one thing as soon as you leave, because the quicker you do it, the quicker you'll build momentum in your life. You've got it? Now we're going to finish with a yes clap. I know you're excited. I told you we'd do it again. And as we do this, think about that thing that you're going to do. Visualize and feel yourself making it happen. But before we do that, I have to end with a cliche. I have to end with a cliche because I believe with all my heart, I really believe it, so much that I say it with every single group that I speak to. How many of you are familiar with the name Tom Bilyeu? Anybody? Tom Bilyeu started a company. He became a gazillionaire, and then he started another company called Quest Nutrition, which was his mission in life to help people to be healthier, and he became a gazillionaire again. He's a young guy. He's still hustling. He's working his heart out, and his mission in life is not just to be successful in business, but to serve other human beings in the best way he knows how. And consistently, very frequently, you'll hear Tom say, human potential is virtually limitless. Human potential is virtually limitless. Now, the only way that's going to be true in your life is if you decide to believe it. if you decide to take it on for yourself. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But what I'd offer you is maybe it could be helpful. Maybe if you took on that belief that human potential is virtually limitless, it could change your life. It could open up more opportunities for you. So, as you think about that one thing you're going to execute on, let's rock and roll. One, two, three. Yes, yes, yes. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, everybody. Hey, I'm really excited you made it to the end of part 2 of PYP. So hopefully that means you took a ton of value from this. I hope you took a ton of notes. And I hope you really, really are excited to put some of this into action and really propel yourself forward faster in your personal and professional life. And hopefully it starts to help you to change and improve more rapidly. I'm just excited for this journey that you're on wherever you are today. And if this video served you in any way, I'd love for you to comment below and like this video and share it with a friend or family member or coworker who could also find value in it and help them improve their lives. It's a gift that is free. All you got to do is take the time to just copy, paste, and send over to that friend. And that being said, I just hope you'll continue to subscribe and pay attention to these videos, because I do these videos, I make this content because I just love learning and then teaching and sharing it with other people that are also on a journey to just find and experience their fullest potential in this life that we have the gift and blessing to live. So I hope it serves you, and I hope you'll continue to pay attention and stay in touch. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you're working on. I'd love to hear your challenges, figure out how I could best serve you going forward. And until next time, have fun and be awesome.